As Adrian said in the labs there last week, it's important for us to reflect on our learning. And I think the reason this is so that when we go out and teach in practice, we can use like this kind of reflection. And it's important to reflect on it now so that we can remember what we've been learning and how we've engaged in the process of this kind of design task. And I'd like to reflect on the way, in a way in which I can use my reflection to inform the way that I might go about a design and make project during my teaching practice. Because design and make isn't something that I was particularly strong at, like, since I came to college, like, but I've gained a lot from it. Like, I've gained a lot from this experience as well, where we started off from the start. Like, usually when I do projects, or when I did projects in the past, I'd make the artifact and I'd make a portfolio that fits around it. But by doing this kind of interactive learning experience, I'm able to start off with the kind of the portfolio end of it, which is where it should start. I was able to analyse my brief. I was able to analyse it and see exactly what I needed to do, what I needed to incorporate in my design, what I wanted to say. I needed to have a clear message. I needed to be coherent. I needed to know exactly what I wanted to do from the get-go, instead of making a project that I'm going to have to change halfway through, which I was going to have to do anyway, but I was going to have to change halfway through because maybe I wasn't clear as to what I wanted to do. But by being clear what I wanted to do the whole way through, by the likes of these keywords here that I came up with, I was able to have the same message throughout, but all I had to do was change my design to get that message, instead of changing my message throughout, and then my design would have to change as well sometimes. And when I put up this, then I was able to get feedback straight away. I was able to get it off Ben, and he was saying that I was on the right track. Like, that was positive. Like, he said that I seemed to be going in the right direction. And then Adrian as well, like, he's able to tell me that what he wants from us is being shown here. So it's kind of positive feedback means that I can actually move on to the next stage. I don't have to do this at home and be wondering, is it okay, is it right, is it not? I'm not quite sure. I'll wait until I come into the next class, and I'll see what the TA says, see if I can move on to the next one. By being able to put up this on Edmodo straight away, I was able to move on to the next class with complete confidence that I was moving in the right direction, so that this was over and done with, basically. And then on to the next one, I was able to move on to this. So this is kind of taking some of those keywords that I came up with, those key ideas, and I was able to put it into a design. And I think by engaging in the brief, it made my design just come to me. My design that I wanted to do just came to me straight away, through a design which, like, it incorporated all the words, it incorporated everything, the dynamic thinking, and then the words of innovation, initiative, passion, and persistence. And then the light bulb was with Edison, but it's also for ideas, which is about dynamic thinking. And like, it just came to me through thinking about the design brief. Like, I didn't just think of it because I might want to do this. Yeah, this looks cool, which I might have done in the past. Like, so this came to me by engaging in the brief first of all. And that's something that I actually found very beneficial. It's something that I'd never really done before. It's quite embarrassing, but I actually hadn't done it in that much detail before. And then again, I was able to get back feedback from Leslie and Adrian, and Michaela up above as well. She was able to give me feedback on it as well. She liked my concept, everything like that, and then asked me a question. So she asked a probing question here, which was like, have me kind of thinking, okay, like, what part of my design or make me think further into my own design, something that I hadn't even thought of, like how it was going to be standing or anything like that, or if it was going to have a backdrop, as she was saying. And I was saying that I wanted to be wall mounted, but obviously I found out now that that's not going to really be possible. It's not flat enough. But like, this kind of the questions that need to be asked, that wouldn't be asked if I was at home designing it on my own. It's about collaboration. It's about other people's opinions in your design, and that's perfectly okay. Like sometimes it's seen as copying, like, but it's not. It's other people having an input, and then it's other people being able to tell you if you're right or wrong. And again, Adrian being able to tell me that I was on the right road again, that what the idea I was coming up with was perfectly okay, and that I was actually showing how I was learning, which is good in the terms of a school context, because you'd want students to be able to show you what they're learning, not just to show you that they're doing the work, but like for them to be able to show that you're learning, show you that you're learning. If they were using this kind of software and you're one of their teachers on it, say if it likes teaching practice, like, that's invaluable, like for kind of reflections and everything like that. It could be used in your teaching. You could have something from the next day that you meet them in classroom, instead of having to get the feedback from in the classroom, having to work kind of on your feet there, and then when you only have a few minutes with them anyway, because you might have maybe 20 to 30 students in the class for 80 minutes, that's only a few minutes each. Instead of getting what they're going to get their idea, trying to grasp it there and then trying to give them feedback, you're able to look at it more, or you're able to see what they're on about, what they're kind of trying to get through, and then you're going to be able to tell them if they're right or wrong. Not even if they're right or wrong, but to see if they're on the right track. You might ask a few probing questions like Michaela did to me and say, here, yeah, it's looking good, like, move on to the next stage. And then I was able to prototype, physical prototype. What I learned from this was that physical prototyping is, like, not always necessary. It's not always necessary to do it to a full extent. Like, you can physically prototype parts of your project that you might find difficult. Like, in terms of the size, like, I didn't find it easy to see what size I wanted to make my project. So I made a physical prototype of it when I got my base, and I was able to see that, I wanted, say, 220 high and then 150 wide, and that looks well, it goes well in the hand, and then I can house my motor on it. I was able to put the motor to the back, and I was able to then trace out my cam, which I designed in SolidWorks, and then I was able to test it in the real world, see if it worked. And I was able to identify that no, I actually wasn't able to do it, because cardboard wasn't a good way of actually achieving that kind of a motion. It was too grippy on the wood, which is what I was learning as well. I learned that, so I'll be able to put that into my teaching practice. So I'll be able to maybe get them, I don't know, different sheets, different type of cardboard. I might be able to get them a special type of MDF or something like that, plywood, in which they can prototype, say, moving mechanisms like this, instead of, kind of messing around with cardboard and then them getting disheartened by my failings in doing this. I'm able to, say, not cause them to feel like they're after failing, which is something that's completely acceptable. Like, it's needed to learn, but, like, it's not always seen like that as a child or as a student in the classroom. When they do something wrong, like, they don't see it as good, like, whereas we do see it as good as teachers. They mightn't see it as being very positive at all. And then I was able to move on to my cam and the design of that and see how that went. And I was able to get feedback as well, and they said that was looking good, like it might be able to work. And I was able to put up the videos of it and show them my learning again. Like, I was able to show it, like, not all students and teach practice would be able to have SolidWorks, but even if they took a video on their phones and say they had the likes of a sheet of paper in front of them, drew it out and talked through it, like, as they were going through it, or even voice recordings of what they were thinking and talking over, like, that stuff is invaluable in teach practice, I think, in terms of you as a teacher assessing your students to see how they're getting on, because we're not really that experienced yet. We need something like this. Something like this is good to show what students are learning, how they're getting on. Like, for us, this could be actually very good at teaching us as well as teaching the students and learning from the students. You could really, and this is actually a question that I found, like, it's only a small question for anyone who's engraving laser cutter. Do you add text to your piece in SolidWorks, or is there another way of doing it? And this sparked off a big discussion then. We were able to talk, and I was able to get feedback from lads who were in that lab earlier that week, and they were able to tell me how they got on. They were able to tell me how they did it, how they engaged in it, and, like, Una was able to tell me there, and Pádraig was able to tell me. And it was actually really beneficial to me because it saved time. I didn't have to go into the lab and then ask the question. I was able to go into the lab, say, with a Corel file. I was able to go in and I was able to download Corel first of all, and then I was able to go in with a Corel file and be able to be ready to go on the laser cutter. I wasn't actually able to make it because it wasn't my turn, but I was ready and I was there if I was called and I was going to be ready to do it. Whereas if this wasn't here, I'd have to go into the lab, I'd have to ask Seamus or Brian, see if it was possible. Then maybe in the lab I'd have to do it, and I wouldn't be able to work on other things in the lab. Wouldn't be able to use my time as effectively. And then another part here is my latest post in terms of my cam. So, like, in the lecture there last Wednesday, I said this in the video, like, in the lecture last Wednesday, Brian was saying that my cam might need springs because it's quite a kind of a tight kind of turn, kind of a lot for the cam to displace in such a short rotation. So I just revised the cam and I realised it's not a normal cam. So I was able to revise on my own learning, and without Edmodo or something like that, an interactive learning experience like this, Brian wouldn't have been able to see that I might encounter a problem like that, and he wouldn't have been able to give me that kind of feedback. Like, he's had experience with this. So it's the same on teaching practice as well. Like, this could be beneficial. Like, it could be a lot easier than just trying to work on your feet in the classroom. Like, obviously we're going to make mistakes. I know I have on second year teaching practice, and I haven't learned everything from second year teaching practice either. So in terms of the classroom, this would be very beneficial, I think. So that's basically it. Yeah, that's all. Able to get to my working drawings then way before than I really ever have before. Like, it's the most efficient process I've ever taken part in, due to like other lads in the course being able to tell me what they thought of a project, coming over, having an idea, say, here, this is what I'm thinking. Like, here, Mihal trying to making a housing for my Evigears. Like, this stuff wouldn't have come to me other than other lads in the class having feedback. And another lad who doesn't feature on this much, like, but in the start of the project, like, I was putting up posts, and Darren would be coming over to me, he'd show me links to these lads on YouTube showing different mechanisms, and one of those I'm actually using, like, in terms of the bevel gears and everything like that, and changing the motion. Like, I'm actually able to use that. He was able to come over, show me links, and have an input into my design and everything like that, and those things are invaluable. Like, they're really good. So that's what I'm really thinking about. That's my learning and how I'm going to actually incorporate that in my teaching as well, which I think is what we all should be getting from this, is not only how we have learned. Like, that's very nice and it's very good. Like, but if we can use what we've learned and use our learning as a kind of a way of knowing what we can do in the classroom and what way we can maximize our teaching and the time we have to teach students in the classroom, like, that's brilliant. Like, I think it's really important.